A CNN investigation recently found that tens of millions of counterfeit and second-hand nitrile gloves have entered the United States amid the pandemic. This shocking news once again reminds people of one thing, that today, the supply chain of personal protective equipment, or PPE, remains problematic, and Americans are still suffering as a result. So what factors have contributed to this continuing predicament? And how did Biden's government respond? To aid the discussion of PPE shortages, let's take the recent example of nitrile gloves. Nitrile gloves are widely used in hospitals and other facilities to examine patients. Unfortunately, as the pandemic has hit the entire supply chain, there are dangerous shortages of these nitrile gloves in the US. Get Us PPE is a US non-profit organization that hands out PPE to people who request it. Their data shows that the type of PPE Americans once lacked most was masks, but by June 2021, the demand for nitrile gloves has leapt up to second place. While there have been nearly 30 million pairs of nitrile gloves requested by American people through Get Us PPE up to July 2nd this year, only about 80,000 pairs have been successfully delivered. And among those who asked for help, 64% estimated that the remaining nitrile gloves would run out in less than 7 days. Until now, a range of medical gloves, including nitrile gloves, are still on the list of medical device shortages issued by the FDA. Now we might ask, why has the US suffered from such a PPE shortage for so long? America relies heavily on imports for PPE supplies. This has been confirmed by the US International Trade Commission, or USIC. Its report says that imports supply an estimated 80 to 90% of the US PPE market, directed toward healthcare applications. And much of this production occurs in Asia. This is a figure of global trade networks of selected PPE products created by the Asian Development Bank. We can see that the yellow arrows representing PPE exports from Asia are thicker and connect regions all over the world. America's reliance on Asian products is also evident. However, because of the outbreak of COVID-19, countries worldwide rushed to buy PPE right at the time that the global manufacturing industry was facing a crisis of shutdowns and productivity loss. At this critical moment, countries such as China were able to rely on domestic manufacturing to tide them over. It was at this point that America realized its dependence on imports has become a ticking time bomb, and the pandemic detonated.
We rely on the majority of our PPE products from overseas suppliers. Sadly, I don't think the industry as a whole has really learned the lesson or has taken yet any action that they had to take. And so there's tremendous reliance on foreign countries and outsourcing. And there really hasn't been very significant change, specifically the change that we thought we would see at this point.
The Biden administration have taken notice of this issue. Back in February, the administration said the federal government would use the Defense Production Act to help build plants and factories to enhance domestic manufacturing of gloves. They set the goal of producing more than 1 billion gloves a month and satisfying about half of the demand by the end of the year. It remains to be seen whether this plan can be achieved. But will this kind of government intervention really work in the long term? According to the USIC report, healthcare facilities in the US are highly cost-sensitive customers. Over the years, American healthcare providers have sought to partner with the lowest-priced PPE suppliers. And that's why Asia has become a major source, as labor costs there are lower. This figure in the report shows that even during the pandemic, PPE imports to the US were mainly from Asian countries. The higher production costs make anything made in USA naturally less competitive in the PPE market. And this is the crux of the matter. So even if companies are encouraged by Biden administration's emergency grants to join the business, they might find it hard to stay there. Will the Biden administration make significant efforts to offset this fundamental weakness? Manufacturers are pessimistic and urging Washington to take action. Some organizations are lobbying for law changes as they know this is probably the only way to secure these life-saving supplies if a next pandemic occurs. Will the Biden administration hear these voices? Will concrete steps be taken to protect people from the risks posed by further supply chain crisis? We'll just have to wait and see. This is Foxtel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.